Welcome. We are coming live from Doola HQ. It is Tuesday, August 12th. Sometimes I forget the days, but that's how you know you're in flow when you literally forget the days. And my goal in life, not to go on a sidetrack, is any random Tuesday should feel like a Saturday. I never want to live and have to wait till the weekend. Every day should be a great day. So it's Tuesday, it's a great day. And it's a great day because we do weekly lives on Tuesday, which are actually one of my favorite things all week. Now, today's topic, as you can see, is the QQQ framework. Now, I'm guessing there are some savvy financial stock traders out there. We are not talking about the QQQ index. So we're not talking about that today. This is a different QQQ framework, something which I came up with, which has transformed the way in which I operate and think about doula. And here's my proclamation. My bet is once you hear this, you will not be able to unhear it. That's a bold claim, but hear me out. In the next 20-ish minutes, I'm going to explain what the QQQ framework is, and it's actually the framework we've used to scale to over 10,000 businesses at Doula. So that might be a high proclamation, but what's the saying? It's overpromise, overdeliver. Not overpromise, underdeliver, overpromise, overdeliver. So the QQQ framework. Let's dive in. As a reminder, we do have a global audience. I love the chat. So chat, if you have questions from honestly anything we've covered in previous weeks, or as we're going through the topic, if you have questions, I'll take them as we go. So let's start. What is the QQQ framework? Now, let me just share a bit about Doula. We've scaled to over 10,000 businesses in over 175 countries. We've raised over $13 million of venture capital based here in New York City. And to serve 10,000 businesses all over the world, there's been a ton of mistakes along the way. Now, I need to take you back in time first to the moment when this framework was actually first seeded. And through the history of Doula, we've always been growing. The chart has actually always been like this. But the question is, and this is the game you're playing, how do you make the chart inflect? How do you increase the slope? You want to grow faster. You don't want to just linearly grow. You want to be doubling. So the chart's been going up, but we had sort of hit this plateau where I think growth was linear, which again isn't the worst thing in the world. I'd say linear is better than flat, or even better than contracting. But in startups, average means you die. There's no middle average in startups. In many things in life, average means you have a fantastic outcome. If you're average at Harvard, nothing against Harvard, average at Harvard, you get an A. There's grade point inflation. If you're average at a startup, your startup dies. So if we're linear for too long, that means another startup's going to come by and blow us out of the water. So we don't want linear forever. We want to be exponential or non-linear. So it was one of these, during these linear periods, and I'm going to take you back in time to this moment, when I actually had a catch-up breakfast with one of our investors. And it was during that business breakfast, when he posed a question saying, are we a linear business or are we a non-linear business? And that was kind of these bucket of cold water slap me in the face type moments, because I didn't want a linear business. And I truly do believe that there's a solution out there. You are one hire away, one experiment away, one product away from changing the trajectory of your company or your life. You really are. So I actually think with the right focus, because this is what any company has done, they've put something into the world, you can change the trajectory of your life or your business. So that conversation just prompted me to say, wait a second. Everything in life that you're doing today, whether it's your health, your habits, your finances, your company, is a product of your prior systems and habits. You are fully responsible for everything you're doing right now. So the way you're operating now, personally as a business, it's because of your systems and habits. There's no way around it. So we clearly had to change something. One of my favorite quotes is from Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. There's another quote I love. The only way to change is to have change. Something like that. But the point is, you have to change something to actually have change. So following that convo, I actually did some thinking. And the question that they asked, which was so simple at the time, but this actually really just prompted me to really think, is a very simple question. What can drive the nonlinear growth? And it's such a simple question, but every founder or person at a startup, whether you're a founder or not, can relate to this. There's so much going on. And sometimes you get so stuck in the weeds that you forget to climb the tree and just look down and evaluate, wait, there's a path right there. Or that tree is growing faster than that other tree. And it's right in front of your face, but you can't realize it because you're so heads down, you're not even just looking up for a second. So we talked about, wait a second, I started answering. I said, well, you know what? There's a couple channels that are actually just working really well. And then he said this to me, like, why don't you just do more of it? That was it. Just, hey, why don't you just do more of it? So from that conversation, this is where I did some thinking, and this is where this framework came up with, which I'm going to run through. It's called the QQQ framework. And I kid you not, sometimes the universe just helps out. Within thinking of and implementing this framework in terms of how I evaluate investments and areas to invest in terms of company focus, within 90 days, we hit back-to-back all-time highs in monthly revenue. Now, I will say those numbers are probably a byproduct of work that was done for years in the past, but I do think there's something special about just having the focus because everything starts to come together. So I'm going to show you exactly what this framework was and how we applied it. QQQ stands for quantity, quality, and quest. So QQQ, quantity, quality, and quest. So those are the three Qs in the framework. It's very memorable. That's why I think once you hear this, you can't unhear it. And let me explain how each of those Qs work. So I'm going to start, and actually, I think these Qs go in order. The first Q is quantity, which effectively means just doing more of what works. Now, here's the biggest mistake founders make. I've made this too. You get shiny object syndrome. And I think it's a double-edged sword because to start a company, you need to have that shiny object syndrome where you see something and kind of impulsively just go after it, even though everyone around you says it's a stupid idea or is laughing at you. So it's a double-edged sword because you need that impulsiveness and the ability to go do it and say, screw everyone, I'm just going to go do this. But here's the mistake. When you do find the oil or the tree that's growing, that same shiny object syndrome kicks in again and you go after the other thing. So the first Q in the framework of quantity is very simple. Literally just look at what's working, and before you do anything else, can you just do more of it? Quantity. Increase the quantity. Now, let me give an example here. Our partnership program had an incredible payback, immediate payback, and actually a really good LTV to CAC ratio. So wait a second, why don't we just do more partnerships? Who's the bottleneck? Do we need to hire someone? Okay, yeah, we need to have a specialist come in. And how do we just literally 10x the number of partnerships we're doing, the exact same model? Another thing that worked, and I'm actually going to share this example here. This is one of my favorite examples of this is one of my favorite examples of a testimonial. But to me, this example was just the poignant moment of, hey, we've got to do more of this. Can anyone tell me what the most valuable form of marketing is? It's not TikTok, it's not Google, it's not Meta, it's not Snapchat. Good guess. Any guesses? Any guesses? It is word of mouth. And this is a testimonial. Actually, I said testimonial, but it's not a testimonial. This is a post someone made on LinkedIn where they said, shortly after signing up, I received an email from the founder asking what led me to choose them. It got me thinking. I decided to move forward with Doola because I wasn't just interacting with forums and text on a screen. Instead, I felt a connection to this company, a company I had probably heard of a couple times before. This experience made me realize the power of a personal brand online. The human brain works in mysterious ways, and sometimes it's not just about the product, it's about the connection. Building a strong, authentic personal brand can be a game changer. This was just a smack in the face of, wait a second, this clearly had an impact. It took this person actually sharing it publicly to realize, wait, that's huge. How many other people saw this and didn't say anything? If one person said it, there's got to be others who are feeling it. Let's do way more of this. So we actually have expanded the number of channels where I'm putting out content and the company's putting out content, and we amplify each other's content too to create more of these magical moments. So that first cue is that I would bet, and this is the hardest thing, and here's how I recommend doing this. You have to take a day. It doesn't even have to be a day, but what I like to do is every week I do this. I have a notebook, and leave your office, go somewhere else. This is going to sound scary. For 60 minutes, you're just going to have the pen in the notebook. And if you don't feel like writing, just stare at the notebook. You can't do anything else though. And force yourself to ask these questions of what's actually working in the business, what's going well. And I would bet you have something right now that's working. Maybe a couple things, but you don't need a couple things really. All you need is one good thing to get to the next level. And I would bet in your business, you just have to really pull yourself out for 1 hour, not even one day, and ask yourself, hey, what are the things that are working? And then figure out, okay, how can I do more of them? And that could mean, harsh truth, you're probably wasting hours of the days in other areas. You can pull time from that. If you were to be ruthless, And then the other thing is, hey, maybe you actually can hire someone part-time to help support that. So that's how you can get leverage from someone else, or you can create more reps or leverage internally from yourself, from not spending your time in other things which aren't as fruitful. So that's the first Q. First Q is quantity. The next Q is quality. So we talked about quantity. The next Q is quality. Now, this is another one which shiny object syndrome hates, because shiny object syndrome says, hey, look at that shiny object. Kind of like a dog chasing a tennis ball, you go after it. But here's the truth. For what's working already, even without doing more, but I think doing more is the easiest thing, because you can just either carve out time from things you're doing or get someone else, hire someone with leverage to go do it. If you just do those things incrementally better, so you improve the quality, you're going to get higher return. So I'm going to give you an example here. I'll actually share an example live here. We used to have, and I'll come back to partnerships. Every partnership, we would, after a couple calls, it actually took probably 5 or 10, I realized I was doing the same pitch every single time. So what I started to do is actually a huge email. And then I realized, hey, you're throwing the kitchen sink at them. Let me do an email with a Loom video, so people like each. And then I actually got some really good feedback on the Loom video saying, hey, I watched the Loom. And then we said, wait a second, instead of just a Loom and a long email, why don't we make a pitch deck and a YouTube video, which the video team can edit? So now we have and then the other thing is, hey, we have a partner page on our website, which hasn't been updated in a long time. The form looks like it was made in the AOL era. The page is just very out of date. So we then just did the trifecta across the board, and I'll show you exactly what we did here. We just made all of this better. So what we did is, you can check, we have a partner page right here. We added social proof. We added exactly who we want to work with. We recorded a YouTube video, which is high production. We have an incredible video team. We added a full step-by-step flowchart. This is what I was saying in every email, but people like visuals. A picture's worth 1,000 words. A video is worth 1,000 pictures. So don't forget the video. And then we had the offerings. FAQs, we just literally updated the landing page. So now this page is selling for us while we're not selling. And then we made a deck. We literally made a partner success kit deck. We took all that information from the email, made it visual into a pitch deck where we explain what doula is, our story, how we solve this problem, etc. And then we also had a partner success kit guide. So we have a massive Google document with every question that someone could ask. We have influencer guidelines. So we took this process that was working, and with the same amount of quantity, improved the quality across the board. And you know what that does? Quantity means more coming in. I think of quality as more leverage. So you're getting higher return on every unit of input. And ultimately, a full company is, you do activities, they have a certain amount of leverage, and you have output from that. So what we just did here is more activities, that's more Q, more leverage, that's the quality, and then that some product is, you get a higher output. That's what we did there. So this is the second Q, the quality. Now, if I were to come back, the other thing I would mention is, to do better quality, you might need more time. So this is where actually, to improve quality, you might just be spending 10% of your time on something, and there might be someone, I think this is another harsh truth which companies and founders have realized, that even if you think you're really good at something, someone who isn't at that skill level yet, who's spending 70, 80, 90% of their time on it, is going to do it better. They might not be as efficient as you. I know you might really like the thing too, but you have to learn to let go of the vine as well. So that could mean, hey, maybe you love posting on social yourself. Trust me, there's someone out there who can do it better than you. You just have to find them. Maybe you want to do a little of it. Cool, you can be part of the review process, but there's ways around this. So the second Q is quality. And again, I say first increase the quantity, but then next think about the quality. How can you just make the process better? I hope this example of the partnerships process we went through is one you could use. And again, you really have to pull yourself out of the business first, but I would run through in your business, hey, what are things we can just increase the quantity on, and then quality across the board. And likely I would actually say you can do it for the things you're doing more of as well. You don't have to go find a completely brand new area. So it's like this double magnifying effect. The last Q is quest. Now, this is the last Q for two reasons. One, because it should be the last thing you do. And two, because this actually is the lowest odds of working. So if you keep doing quests all the time, technically you might hit a home run, but you want to mix. You want to hit some singles, hit some doubles and triples, and then a home run every once in a while. Now, the reason why Q is so attractive for founders, it comes back to the shiny object syndrome. Shiny object is a quest. It effectively is. And the reason why quests are so potentially damaging is because you're venturing out and putting resources in a completely unknown area. So there's a chance it completely flops, but there's also a chance of it works. You actually need to allocate some time to quests, but the mistake I see too many people making, the mistake I made, is I used to spend way too much time thinking quest versus quantity and quality. So I had to flip the ratio. It probably used to be 80% towards quest, 20% towards the quantity and quality. I've now flipped the bucket, where actually, if anything, it's maybe spending about 50% of the time on quantity, 25% on quality, and then 25% on quest. And obviously, you might shift those buckets slightly, but the point is, I think the majority should be in quantity and quality. So I'll give you an example of a quest. This is where, wait a second, talk to your customers. Every potential problem you have as a business can be solved by talking to your customers. And for Doola, this is how we've actually expanded the product. We started with formation. We realized people had more questions about taxes than formation, so we added in taxes. And then we realized taxes, a lot of people's books were a mess and they had no way through the year to keep their books in order. We didn't have a touch point to actually help them understand their business. We added bookkeeping. And then we realized, wait a second, bookkeeping is one set of financial metrics. What if we could actually integrate and connect to their actual stores? So we added e-commerce analytics. And now we have a huge launch coming up in 13 days, which I won't share because I have to build some suspense. But we did the same thing. We talked to our users. We understood, hey, how can we make their process either faster or improved in terms of experience? So effectively, it's back to QQQ again for the customer. Can we help them do more of what they want to do or improve the quality of what they want to do? Or help them go on more quests easier? So that's all I'll hint, is that this new offering coming in 13 days, we are expanding the business in a box and we're going on a quest. But that's actually the major new quest we're doing this quarter. Everything else is actually just more quantity and improving the quality. There's one big quest, but we have a lot of conviction on it and we can point all of our resources towards it. So the takeaway I would have here is that you have to really flip that ratio of quest to quantity to quality. Probably this quarter in terms of resources, it's maybe 20, 25%, maybe a third in certain quarters if it's a huge initiative. But you need to have some buckets in the quantity and quality buckets. So what I'd say here to keep it really simple is a third, a third, a third. Really simple. A third of your allocation, and you can actually just think this through, whether you're one person or 100 people. Look at everything people are working on and just think through, hey, how much is going to quantity improvements, quality improvements, or a quest? And depending on what and where your business is, maybe it's more of the quantity versus quality, maybe it's more quality versus quantity. But I do think the quest bucket should be smaller than it typically is for most, because otherwise it means you're doing too many shiny objects or chasing too many shiny objects. So that is the QQQ framework. Now, if you found that helpful, I actually recorded a full YouTube video on this, which you can check out on YouTube. You can search, actually, you know what, I'm going to do a test here. Let's see how my SEO is. We're going to do a Google search for, okay, so we're not there yet. I searched for QQQ framework, and you have to add in my name, or let's see if you add in doula after. Let's see if that works. Okay, if you do QQQ framework doula, you'll then see it. We don't quite have the SEO because like the QQQ stock or the index is that's dominating right now. So if I do, here, I'll show everyone. If I do QQQ framework right here, okay, check this out. I'm on an incognito window. So QQQ framework, we can see, yeah, it's QQQ stock or the ETF. And then if I add in doula, there we go. There's the video. So you can check it out there if you prefer video. And I really hope that this helps with your business as you're growing. Again, I do think this is one of the most challenging things is the shiny object syndrome. But it is fun. And, you know, sometimes I've gotten asked, like, how do you avoid the shiny object syndrome? To avoid shiny object syndrome, I think you have to kind of rewire your brain to say, ultimately, what's the goal? And what's going to help you get to that goal? Is it the shiny objects or is it quantity and quality? And you'll then give yourself that same dopamine because you realize, wait a second, I used to get dopamine from this thing, but I need to shift my dopamine to actually improving the quality of this thing where you'll see the results or doing more. And the other thing I'll say is that it doesn't mean you have to completely stop doing quests, but I do think you have to start to think about your portfolio of time and say, I'm going to do less of them. Instead of doing 4 quests in 4 different areas, there'll be one where I can go down rabbit holes. But the other is you got to be really relentlessly focused on the quantity and quality improvements. Okay, that is a wrap. I will take any questions live. If there's no questions, again, every week we collect questions and we can share them. And I really hope this framework was helpful. And here's the last thing I'll finish with. We this is the same framework we're going to use to 10x again. There's not going to be any changes there. It's quantity, it's quality, and it's quest. And that's what I love about this is it's so evergreen and timeless that actually in anything you're doing, you can apply this to your life. Let me use exercise for example. If you are trying to improve you can get in better shape. It's quite simple. You either need to do more exercise, or maybe some of your reps are poor quality. So do the same amount of exercise but improve the quality. Or maybe there's a quest. You need to actually go do a completely new thing. So maybe now you are just lifting weights. So you're lifting weights and you're doing it maybe 3 days a week, very consistent. But you realize, wait a second, my form was off. My elbows were too flared on push-ups and my squats weren't going down. Cool. So I just improved the quality. And then you're like, hey, you know what? I feel good. My recovery's there. I'm going to increase to 5 or 6 days per week. Okay. And then you're like, wait a second. I'm feeling fantastic here, but I want to do things for my heart health too. And let's add some cardio. So I'm going to go on a new quest and add that in. And now you have this new mix. But if every single week or month you're adding in 15 new things here without focusing on what's working, the quantity and the quality, it's very similar to business. So I actually like this framework because you can apply it to so many other things. Your health, your business. To me, it's a very evergreen concept. But my recommendation again, and I found this personally helpful, so I hope this resonates with someone out there, is whatever you're working on, pull yourself out, get a notebook, literally pen and paper, not pen, not your hands and keyboard. No GPT for this. Use your brain. Notebook, pen, 1 hour. You can't do anything, and just ask yourself. You can even write QQQ on the top. That's actually what I would say is write QQQ on the top, quantity, quality, quest, and just think about, again, you can apply it to yourself or your business. Okay, what can we do more of? What can we improve the quality of? And where can we go on a quest? Okay, that is a wrap for today. We'll finish on QQQ. If anyone has any questions about the framework or doula, a couple things I'm going to share, just to share a couple of resources here. So the very first thing is I write a newsletter each week called the 2-Minute Business Hack, where I share a hack. This is a framework, not quite a hack, but this is something that you might find there. So I try to share learnings as much as I can. Another hack, which I'll give you a taste of, is every time I do a sales or a partnerships call, I'll start the call standing because you naturally have more energy when you're standing versus sitting. It's like putting makeup on your sales calls. So there's one hack. Try that on your next call. I guarantee you'll have more energy. So if you like hacks, you can check out that newsletter here. If you yourself are a business owner looking to either launch, you have an idea and you're looking to get started, that's why we're built. We've helped over 10,000 businesses. We'd love to support you. And if you have a business and you're spending too much time on bookkeeping or taxes, or you don't feel like you have confidence there, you can do a free demo with us. So completely free, no strings attached. You can chat with the team. You can scan that QR code there. And I'm available on social. So you can visit Doula. You can follow us. We're putting out tons of content if you want to follow along the journey, no matter where you are in the world. So with that, thank you everyone for tuning in. And we will LLC everyone next Tuesday.